Make disrespect expensive. If someone disrespects you, do not rush to prove your strength. Become the kind of person whose absence, boundaries, and standards make disrespect costly. There is a difference between being aggressive and being powerful. Aggression makes noise. Power does not need to shout. A weak person reacts to every insult because they believe every insult deserves an answer. A disciplined person understands something much more important. Not every battle deserves your energy, but every boundary deserves your protection. Welcome back to Inner Steel, where we train the mind to become calmer, stronger, more disciplined, and harder to manipulate. Before we go deeper, subscribe to Inner Steel for more lessons on self-control, confidence, discipline, stoicism, and mental strength. Today, we are talking about something many people struggle with: disrespect. Not because you should become cruel. Not because you should seek revenge. Not because you should walk around looking for enemies. But because if you constantly tolerate disrespect, people eventually learn that there is no consequence for treating you badly. And when there is no consequence, bad behavior repeats. So the goal is simple. Make disrespect expensive. Not expensive through violence. Not expensive through revenge. Not expensive through emotional explosions. Make it expensive through your standards. Make it expensive through your boundaries. Make it expensive through your silence. Make it expensive through your discipline. Make it expensive through your willingness to walk away. Make it expensive by becoming someone who cannot be controlled through disrespect. 1. Stop rewarding disrespect with attention. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they are disrespected is giving the disrespect exactly what it was designed to get: attention. Someone insults you. You explain yourself. They mock you. You argue. They provoke you. You become emotional. They push harder. And suddenly, the person who started the disrespect is controlling your entire emotional state. Think about how strange that is. Someone says a few words, and suddenly your heart is racing. Your mind is replaying the conversation. You are imagining what you should have said. You are planning what you will say tomorrow. You cannot sleep because of something another person said. That is not power. That is emotional ownership. Imagine a man named Daniel. Daniel worked in an office where one of his coworkers constantly made little comments about him. At first, Daniel defended himself. "You always have something to say about me." The coworker laughed. Daniel became more frustrated. The next day, another comment came. Daniel responded again. Soon, the coworker discovered something. He had found Daniel's button. Whenever he wanted entertainment, he pressed it. One morning, Daniel decided to change his strategy. The coworker made another sarcastic remark. Daniel looked at him calmly and said, "Okay." Then he returned to his work. No argument. No speech. No emotional performance. The coworker waited for the reaction. There was none. The next day, another comment came. Daniel gave the same calm response. Eventually, the coworker stopped. Why? Because the behavior was no longer producing a reward. This is an important lesson. Some disrespect survives because we keep feeding it. You cannot always control whether someone behaves badly. But you can control whether you provide an audience for it. Sometimes your strongest response is not a clever comeback. Sometimes it is simply refusing to participate. A Stoic does not allow every stranger, coworker, relative, or critic to become the director of his emotional life. You do not have to attend every argument you are invited to. You do not have to answer every insult. You do not have to correct every misunderstanding. You do not have to defend yourself against every opinion. There are moments when silence is not weakness. Silence is refusal. You are saying, "You do not get access to my peace." And that is powerful. 2. Do not confuse kindness with weakness. Kindness is strength when it is chosen. But kindness without boundaries can become self-abandonment. There are people who believe being a good person means allowing everyone to walk over them. They say yes when they mean no. They forgive behavior that keeps repeating. They tolerate insults because they do not want conflict. They remain available to people who only contact them when they need something. Eventually, resentment grows. They become angry. But the problem is not that they are kind. The problem is that their kindness has no boundary. Consider a woman named Maria. Maria was known as the person everyone could depend on. If someone needed help, Maria helped. If someone needed money, Maria tried to assist. If someone needed a favor, she said yes. At first, people appreciated her. Then something changed. People stopped asking. They started expecting. If Maria said no, people became upset. You've changed. You're becoming selfish. You used to help me. Maria felt guilty. So she continued saying yes. One day, a friend asked her to do something that would consume an entire weekend. Maria was exhausted, but she agreed. That night, she realized something painful. She wasn't helping because she wanted to. She was helping because she was afraid of disappointing people. That was the moment she changed. The next request came. Maria calmly said, "I can't do that." The person became angry. Maria did not argue. She did not explain for 20 minutes. She simply repeated, "I understand you're disappointed, but I can't do it." That was the beginning of a healthier life. Your kindness should have a gate. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to you. A boundary does not make you cruel. A boundary tells people how to interact with you. And when someone discovers that your kindness is not permission to mistreat you, your kindness becomes more valuable. 3. Stop explaining your boundaries. One of the clearest signs that you do not fully trust your own decisions is when you feel the need to write a courtroom defense every time you say no. No, I can't come because. No, I don't want to because. No, I'm busy because. No, I need some time because. You keep explaining. Why? Because you want the other person to approve your boundary. But a boundary does not require unanimous approval. If you say no and someone becomes angry, their anger does not automatically mean your no was wrong. Imagine someone knocking on your door. You decide not to open it. You do not owe the person a 40-minute explanation through the door. Your life is your door. Your time is your property. Your attention is your currency. Your energy is limited. You have the right to decide where it goes. A man named Samuel learned this after years of over-explaining. His manager constantly asked him to stay late. Samuel had family responsibilities. He tried to explain everything. "My children need me. I already worked extra hours. I have an appointment." The manager always found a response. Eventually Samuel stopped explaining. "I can't stay tonight." The manager asked why. Samuel simply said, "I have a commitment." That was enough. The manager didn't need his entire life story. Neither does everyone else. When your boundary is reasonable, you do not need to turn it into a debate. Say it clearly. Say it respectfully. Then stand by it. 4. Let people experience the consequences of their choices. A major part of making disrespect expensive is refusing to protect people from the consequences of their own behavior. This does not mean revenge. It means responsibility. If someone repeatedly disrespects your time, stop giving them unlimited access to it. If someone repeatedly breaks your trust, stop giving them sensitive information. If someone repeatedly cancels on you, stop organizing your schedule around them. If someone repeatedly insults you, reduce your interaction. The consequence is not punishment. The consequence is access changing. Imagine you lend someone your car. They return it late. You forgive them. Next time, they return it with an empty tank. You forgive them. Next time, they damage it. You forgive them again. Eventually, they learn something. There is no cost to being irresponsible with your property. So why would their behavior change? But imagine the next time they ask, you calmly say, "I won't be lending you the car anymore." They may call you difficult. They may complain. They may say you are unforgiving. But the reality is simple. You are no longer volunteering for the same problem. People learn how to treat you partly through what you repeatedly allow. Your job is not to control people. Your job is to control your access. 5. Never chase respect. Respect that has to be begged for is not respect. You cannot force someone to value you. You can demand basic decency, but you cannot manufacture genuine admiration. This is why chasing respect is exhausting. You start changing yourself to impress people. You become louder. You show off. You mention your achievements. You try to prove your importance. But the more desperately you try to prove your worth, the more insecure you can appear. A young man named David wanted respect from his friends. He constantly talked about his goals. He exaggerated his accomplishments. He tried to make everyone believe he was successful. One of his friends rarely talked about himself. He simply worked. Every morning he trained. Every evening he studied. Months passed. Then years. One day, everyone noticed the difference. The quiet friend had built something real. David had spent years trying to convince people that he was becoming someone. The other man had simply become someone. That is the difference between performance and substance. Do not chase respect. Build character. Build competence. Build discipline. Build reliability. Build emotional control. Build a life you do not need to exaggerate. Eventually, people notice. And if they don't, keep building. Your value does not depend on applause. 6. Learn to walk away. There is a special kind of power that comes from knowing you can leave. Not every relationship deserves endless negotiation. Not every friendship deserves another chance. Not every environment deserves your presence. Not every argument deserves another round. Sometimes the strongest statement is, I am done participating in this. A man named Marcus spent years in a friendship where he was constantly mocked. His friend called it humor. But the jokes always targeted Marcus's weaknesses. Whenever Marcus objected, the friend said, Relax. I'm just joking. Marcus tolerated it because they had known each other for years. Then one evening, the friend embarrassed him in front of a group. Marcus did not shout. He simply left. The next morning, his friend called. Marcus explained, I don't want a friendship where disrespect is disguised as humor. The friend apologized. The behavior changed. And if it hadn't changed? Marcus was prepared to walk away permanently. Walking away is not always about leaving people forever. Sometimes it is about leaving the version of yourself that accepts anything because you are afraid of being alone. A person who cannot walk away will tolerate almost anything. A person who knows they can walk away becomes much harder to manipulate. 7. Control your face before you control your words. When someone disrespects you, your first battle is not with them. It is with your nervous system. Your body wants to react. Your face changes. Your voice rises. Your heart accelerates. Your mind starts producing arguments. This is where discipline begins. Before you answer, breathe. Slow down. Look at the person. Listen. Then decide. A calm face does not mean you feel nothing. It means you refuse to let emotion drive the vehicle. Imagine a man in a meeting. A colleague attacks his idea. You clearly don't understand what you're doing. Several people look at him. He feels embarrassed. His first instinct is to respond aggressively. Instead, he takes a breath. Then he says, If you have a specific criticism of the idea, explain it. The room becomes quiet. The attack has nowhere to go. Why? Because the man refused to fight emotionally. He redirected the conversation toward facts. That is emotional control. You don't have to pretend disrespect doesn't hurt. You simply refuse to let pain decide your behavior. 8. Never make a permanent decision in temporary anger. Anger feels permanent while you are experiencing it. It isn't. You may feel like sending the message. You may want to expose someone. You may want to insult them back. You may want to destroy the relationship immediately. But anger is a poor architect. It builds things you may regret living inside later. A woman named Grace once received a cruel message from someone she loved. She typed a long response. She wrote everything she had ever wanted to say. Her finger hovered over send. Then she remembered something. If I send this while angry, tomorrow I will have to live with today's words. She saved the message. She went to sleep. The next morning, she read it again. She deleted most of it. Then she sent 3 sentences. I don't accept being spoken to that way. If we are going to have a conversation, it needs to be respectful. I'm willing to talk when we're both calm. That message protected her dignity without creating another disaster. Sometimes the strongest response is delayed. Give yourself time. A calm decision made tomorrow is often better than an emotional decision made tonight. 9. Stop trying to win every argument. There are people who will argue with a wall. They do not want truth. They want victory. You could bring evidence. They bring emotion. You explain. They change the subject. You clarify. They attack your character. You answer. They introduce another accusation. Soon you are trapped inside an endless conversation. The mistake is believing that because someone challenges you, you must defeat them. You don't. Some arguments have no winner. The only winner is the person who leaves with their peace intact. Imagine 2 coworkers arguing about a project. One keeps repeating, "You don't understand." The other realizes the conversation is going nowhere. He says, "We disagree. Let's bring the facts to the manager and decide based on the evidence." The argument ends. That is maturity. Not every disagreement deserves emotional combat. Sometimes the smartest sentence is, "We see this differently." Then move forward. 10. Do not react to disrespect with more disrespect. This is where many people lose themselves. Someone behaves badly. You behave badly in response. Now both people are wrong. You may tell yourself, "They started it." But your character is revealed by what you do after someone else loses theirs. Imagine someone insults you publicly. You insult them back. They respond. You respond again. Now the entire room is watching 2 adults behave like children. What did you gain? Nothing. A stronger response might be, "I won't continue this conversation if you speak to me like that." Then leave. You did not surrender. You simply refused to become the person the disrespect was trying to turn you into. That is strength. 11. Make your absence mean something. If you are always available, your presence can become invisible. Always answering. Always helping. Always showing up. Always forgiving. Always accepting. Then one day, people realize you have disappeared. Not because you wanted to manipulate them. Because you finally decided to protect your energy. A man named Joseph was always the first person his friends called. Need a ride? Joseph. Need money? Joseph. Need help moving? Joseph. Need someone to listen? Joseph. But when Joseph needed help, everyone was suddenly busy. So he stopped chasing. He did not announce it. He simply became more selective. His phone became quieter. His schedule became healthier. And he discovered something. He had not lost many friends. He had lost many demands. That distinction changed his life. Your absence should not be a manipulation tactic. But your presence should be earned through mutual respect. 12. Stop giving second chances without changed behavior. Forgiveness is powerful. But forgiveness does not require unlimited access. You can forgive someone and still change the relationship. This is an important distinction. A person apologizes. You accept the apology. But then the same behavior happens again. Another apology. Same behavior. Another apology. Same behavior. Eventually, the apology becomes a reset button. The person behaves badly, says sorry, and gets the same access again. That teaches nothing. Real forgiveness can coexist with boundaries. A man named Peter had a friend who repeatedly borrowed money and never repaid it. Every time, the friend promised. Next month. Next month came. Another excuse. Eventually Peter said, "I forgive you for what happened, but I won't lend you money again." That is healthy. Forgiveness releases resentment. Boundaries prevent repetition. You need both. 13. Build competence so you do not need validation. Confidence grows when you trust yourself. And self-trust comes from evidence. You tell yourself you will train. Then you train. You tell yourself you will study. Then you study. You tell yourself you will save money. Then you save. You tell yourself you will stop chasing people. Then you stop. Every promise you keep to yourself becomes a brick in your self-respect. A man named Alex was constantly insecure at work. He worried everyone was better than him. He wanted recognition. Then he decided to focus on competence. For 6 months, he studied his field every evening. He asked better questions. He practiced. He improved. Eventually, people began coming to him for answers. His confidence changed. Not because someone complimented him. Because he had evidence. You cannot always think yourself into confidence. Sometimes you have to work yourself into it. Build something real. Then disrespect becomes less threatening because your identity is not dependent on approval. 14. Guard your time. Time is the one currency you cannot earn back. Money can return. Opportunities can return. Possessions can be replaced. Yesterday cannot. So when someone repeatedly wastes your time, they are not merely wasting minutes. They are taking pieces of your life. Imagine you have an appointment at 2 o'clock. Someone repeatedly arrives at 3 o'clock. You keep waiting. You become angry. But you continue arranging your schedule around them. One day you say, "I'll be available until 2:15. After that I'll continue with my day." Now your boundary is clear. You are not punishing them. You are respecting yourself. People who respect your time deserve access to it. People who consistently waste it should receive less of it. 15. Stop trying to be liked by everyone. You can be kind and still be disliked. You can be honest and still be criticized. You can do the right thing and still be misunderstood. This is normal. The moment you understand this, you become free. A man named Daniel spent years trying to make everyone happy. At work, he agreed with everyone. With friends, he avoided disagreement. With family, he kept quiet. He thought peace meant nobody was upset with him. Eventually, he realized that wasn't peace. That was fear. Real peace is knowing someone may dislike your decision and being okay with it. You do not need universal approval. You need integrity. If everyone likes you, ask yourself whether you are actually standing for anything. 16. Speak less when emotions are high. When emotions rise, words become weapons. And once spoken, they cannot be pulled back. This is why silence becomes a strategic advantage. When someone is angry, they often reveal information they would normally hide. If you stay calm, you can observe. If you become angry too, you stop observing. A woman named Helen once had an argument with her sister. Her sister said several painful things. Helen wanted to respond immediately. Instead, she said, "I need some time before we continue this." She left. Later, she realized the argument was not really about the sentence that started it. There were years of unresolved frustration underneath. Because she paused, she was able to address the real issue instead of creating another layer of damage. Silence creates space. Use it. 17. Let your work speak. If someone doubts you, you do not always need to convince them. Build. If someone says you cannot succeed, build. If someone laughs at your goal, build. If someone underestimates you, build. Your results can have a conversation you never need to participate in. A young man named Michael wanted to start a business. His friends laughed. "You think you're going to become successful?" He argued with them. Then he stopped. He spent the next 2 years learning, failing, adjusting, and building. Eventually his business became profitable. Some of the same people who laughed began asking him for advice. Michael did not need to remind them that they were wrong. His life had already answered. That is the power of quiet progress. 18. Never threaten a boundary you won't enforce. If you say, If you do that again, I'm leaving. And they do it again, but you stay, your words become weaker. Boundaries require action. Do not make dramatic threats. Make realistic decisions. Instead of, "If you ever speak to me like that again, you're dead to me," say, "If the conversation becomes insulting, I'll end it." Then do exactly that. Consistency creates credibility. A boundary is not what you announce. A boundary is what you consistently enforce. 19. Do not seek revenge. Revenge keeps the person who hurt you living inside your mind. You wake up thinking about them. You work thinking about them. You plan thinking about them. You succeed thinking about proving something to them. That is not freedom. Freedom is forgetting to check whether they noticed. A man named Robert was betrayed by a former business partner. For months he wanted revenge. He wanted everyone to know what happened. Then he realized something. He was spending more energy destroying the memory of the betrayal than building his future. So he stopped. He rebuilt his business. He improved his health. He strengthened his relationships. Years later, someone mentioned the former partner. Robert barely remembered. That was his revenge. He became free. 20. Make your standard higher than your loneliness. This may be one of the hardest lessons. People often tolerate disrespect because they are afraid of losing someone. They think, "What if I never find another friend? What if nobody else loves me? What if I'm alone?" Fear of loneliness can make people accept almost anything. But being surrounded by people who disrespect you can be lonelier than being alone. A woman named Sarah stayed in a friendship for years because she was afraid of losing her only close friend. The friendship became increasingly toxic. Every disagreement became an insult. Every success became competition. Every boundary became an accusation. Eventually, Sarah decided she would rather experience temporary loneliness than permanent disrespect. She stepped away. The first months were difficult. But slowly she met healthier people. More importantly, she became comfortable with herself. Never trade your dignity for company. 21. Do not argue with people who benefit from misunderstanding you. Some people misunderstand you accidentally. Others misunderstand you because it benefits them. If someone has already decided you are the villain, you may never convince them otherwise. Do not waste your life trying to control a story you do not own. A man named Thomas was accused by a co-worker of being arrogant. Thomas tried to explain himself. The co-worker kept spreading the accusation. Thomas finally stopped defending himself to everyone. He simply treated people respectfully and continued doing good work. Over time, people formed their own opinions. That is another lesson. Character is consistency over time. You cannot control every rumor. You can control your conduct. 22. Never be afraid to say, "That is not acceptable." Sometimes people need clarity. Not rage. Not insults. Clarity. "That is not acceptable. I won't participate in that. Please don't speak to me that way. I disagree." No. Those sentences may feel uncomfortable when you are used to pleasing everyone. But discomfort is not danger. Sometimes your growth begins with learning to tolerate the discomfort of disappointing someone. 23. Keep your emotional center. Imagine your mind as a room. If everyone can walk inside whenever they want and rearrange the furniture, you have no control over your own space. Someone insults you. They move the furniture. Someone criticizes you. They move it again. Someone ignores you. They move it again. Someone praises you. They move it again. Now your emotional state depends entirely on outside events. A disciplined mind has a center. You can hear criticism without collapsing. You can receive praise without becoming arrogant. You can experience rejection without deciding you are worthless. You can experience success without believing you are invincible. This balance is Stoic strength. You observe the world without surrendering your inner government to it. 24. Do not give people information they can use to manipulate you. Not everyone needs access to your fears. Not everyone needs to know your weaknesses. Not everyone needs to know your financial situation. Not everyone needs to know your next move. Privacy is not secrecy. It is discernment. A young man named Chris told everyone about his plans. He told people what he wanted to build. He told them how much money he hoped to make. He told them what he feared. Some supported him. Others mocked him. Eventually, he learned to move quietly. He began sharing less and executing more. His life became calmer. You do not have to announce every chapter while you are still writing it. 25. Become difficult to manipulate. Manipulation often works through emotional pressure. After everything I've done for you. If you loved me. Everyone else agrees with me. You're selfish. You've changed. Sometimes these statements contain truth. Sometimes they are designed to make you abandon your boundary. The solution is not becoming cold. It is learning to pause. Ask, is this actually my responsibility? Am I saying yes because I want to or because I feel guilty? Is this person asking for cooperation or demanding control? That pause can save you from years of regret. 26. Stop rewarding people for ignoring your boundaries. Suppose you tell someone, I don't like being spoken to that way. They do it again. You stay exactly as available as before. What message did your behavior communicate? That your boundary has no consequence. Words matter. But repeated behavior teaches more. If someone repeatedly crosses your boundary, change the level of access. Less time. Less information. Less availability. Less involvement. Not because you hate them. Because you have learned. 27. Do not let disrespect change your character. This is one of the deepest lessons. Someone treats you badly. You become bitter. Someone betrays you. You stop trusting everyone. Someone lies to you. You become dishonest. Someone uses you. You start using others. Now their behavior has infected your character. You have allowed someone else's weakness to become your personality. Don't. You can become wiser without becoming cruel. You can become more selective without becoming heartless. You can become stronger without becoming arrogant. The goal is not to become hard toward everyone. The goal is to become strong enough to remain good without being naive. 28. Stop begging for closure. Sometimes closure does not come from another person. They may never apologize. They may never understand what they did. They may never admit they were wrong. You may spend years waiting for a sentence that never arrives. Eventually, you have to decide. My healing cannot depend on their awareness. A man named Andrew waited years for an apology from someone who betrayed him. One day he realized the apology had become a prison. He wrote one sentence in his journal. I released the need for them to understand. That sentence gave him more peace than years of arguments. You cannot always get the explanation you deserve. But you can choose what happens next. 29. Build a life that does not revolve around one person's opinion. If one person's opinion can destroy your confidence, you have given that person too much authority. Your life should have multiple pillars. Purpose. Work. Family. Friendships. Learning. Health. Spirituality or philosophy. Personal growth. When one pillar shakes, the entire structure does not collapse. A man named James was devastated when a relationship ended. He realized his entire identity had been built around that relationship. He had abandoned his hobbies. He neglected his friendships. He stopped pursuing his goals. When the relationship ended, he felt like his entire life ended. But his life had not ended. He had simply forgotten how many parts of himself existed outside that relationship. He rebuilt. Slowly. And eventually he became stronger because he had learned a powerful lesson. Never make another person your entire world. 30. Know when disrespect requires distance. Not every problem requires confrontation. Sometimes distance is the answer. If someone is consistently hostile, manipulative, dishonest, or abusive, you may not need another speech. You may need space. There is wisdom in recognizing patterns. One bad moment can be human. A repeated pattern is information. Pay attention. The goal is not to label everyone toxic. The goal is to stop ignoring evidence. 31. Make your yes mean something. If you say yes to everything, your yes loses value. Your word should have weight. When you agree to something, mean it. When you commit, show up. When you promise, follow through. When you say no, do not reverse yourself because someone pressures you. People trust consistent people. Your reputation is built from small moments. A man named Daniel once promised his team he would finish a difficult project by Friday. It became harder than expected. Instead of disappearing, he communicated. He worked late. He finished. His co-workers trusted him afterward. Not because he was perfect. Because his word meant something. Respect grows when your actions and words repeatedly match. Stop trying to prove you are unbothered. There is a difference between being unbothered and performing indifference. If you constantly post quotes about how much you don't care, you may still be thinking about the person. True detachment is quieter. You don't need them to know you moved on. You don't need them to see your success. You don't need them to regret losing you. You simply continue living. A man named Eric spent months posting about how successful he had become after a breakup. Everyone knew who the posts were for. Eventually, Eric stopped posting. He started working. Years later, someone asked him about the relationship. He shrugged. I honestly don't think about it anymore. That was real freedom. 33. Do not let praise control you either. This may sound strange. But if insults control you and praise controls you, you are still controlled. Someone says, "You are amazing." You feel powerful. Someone says, "You are worthless." You collapse. Both reactions give external voices too much authority. Learn to evaluate yourself honestly. Accept praise. Learn from criticism. But do not build your identity entirely from either. Marcus Aurelius and other Stoic thinkers emphasize the importance of directing attention toward character and action rather than external approval. Your question should be, did I act according to my values? Not, did everyone like me? 34. Keep your promises to yourself. Self-respect is not created in one dramatic moment. It is created through repetition. Wake up when you said you would. Finish what you started. Train when you promised yourself you would. Study when you said you would. Put the phone down. Stop contacting the person you know you should stop chasing. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you send your mind a message. I can trust me. That is powerful. Because once you trust yourself, disrespect becomes less frightening. You know you will protect yourself. You know you will walk away when necessary. You know you will rebuild. 35. Do not announce every boundary. Some boundaries do not need announcements. You can simply change your behavior. If someone constantly calls late at night, stop answering late. If someone constantly asks for money, stop lending. If someone repeatedly insults you, reduce interaction. You do not need a press conference. Your behavior can communicate enough. 36. Learn the power of a calm no. No. 2 letters. One of the most difficult words for people pleasers. They fear rejection. They fear anger. They fear being called selfish. But no is not an attack. No means you have considered the request and decided it does not fit your priorities. Practice it. No, I can't. No, I'm not available. No, I don't want to. No, that doesn't work for me. You don't need to decorate your no with guilt. 37. Do not explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. There comes a point where explanation becomes self-betrayal. You keep talking because you hope the other person will finally understand. But they are not listening. They are collecting material for the next argument. Stop. Your responsibility is to communicate clearly. After that, their interpretation belongs to them. 38. Respect yourself enough to leave the table. There is an old principle worth remembering. You do not have to keep playing a game simply because you already invested time in it. If a relationship is unhealthy, your years together do not obligate you to suffer for more years. If a job environment destroys your dignity, your history there does not mean you must stay forever. If a friendship has become destructive, memories do not excuse present behavior. Past investment is not a reason to continue making a bad investment. Sometimes wisdom says, "I've learned enough. It's time to go." 39. Do not be impressed by loud people. Volume is not authority. Anger is not strength. Intimidation is not confidence. A person can shout and still be insecure. A person can remain calm and still be extremely strong. Watch behavior. Who keeps promises? Who takes responsibility? Who remains composed under pressure? Who can apologize? Who can say no? Who can walk away? Those qualities reveal strength more reliably than volume. 40. Build silence into your life. Silence gives you room to think. Every day, spend time without constant noise. No social media. No arguments. No endless messages. No unnecessary entertainment. Just thought. Ask yourself, what am I allowing that I should stop allowing? Where am I betraying my own values? Who deserves more of my attention? Who deserves less? What am I afraid to say no to? These questions can change your life. 41. Make discipline your default response. When life becomes chaotic, discipline keeps you grounded. Someone disrespects you? Don't abandon your routine. Someone rejects you? Don't abandon your goals. Someone criticizes you? Don't abandon your values. Someone leaves? Don't abandon yourself. This is the difference between emotional reaction and disciplined living. Your circumstances can change. Your standards should remain. 42. Never make yourself small to keep someone comfortable. There are people who are comfortable with you only when you are beneath them. When you start improving, they become uncomfortable. When you become confident, they call you arrogant. When you become independent, they call you distant. When you establish boundaries, they call you selfish. Do not automatically believe them. Growth changes relationships. Some people loved the version of you that had no boundaries because that version was easier to control. You are allowed to grow. 43. Let your life become the response. Someone doubts you. Build. Someone rejects you. Grow. Someone leaves. Heal. Someone insults you. Remain disciplined. Someone underestimates you. Improve. Someone tries to embarrass you. Keep your dignity. Eventually, your life becomes the answer. You don't have to announce, "Look what I became." Your results will be visible. 44. Do not let one bad person define everyone. After betrayal, it is tempting to become suspicious of everyone. But one person's behavior is not proof that everyone is the same. If someone lies, learn to verify. If someone betrays you, learn to choose better. If someone manipulates you, learn the science. But do not punish innocent people for the actions of someone else. Wisdom is not paranoia. Wisdom is discernment. 45. Forgive your old self. Maybe you tolerated too much. Maybe you chased people. Maybe you begged. Maybe you overexplained. Maybe you accepted disrespect because you were afraid to be alone. Do not spend your entire life hating the person you used to be. That person was learning. Use the lesson. Grow. Your past can become your teacher without becoming your prison. 46. Understand that some people will test your boundaries. When you establish a new boundary, some people will test it. This is normal. If you have always answered immediately and suddenly stop, someone may ask, "What's wrong with you?" If you have always lent money and stop, someone may call you selfish. If you have always tolerated disrespect and suddenly leave, someone may say, "You've changed." Yes, you have. Growth often looks like change to people who benefited from the old version of you. 47. Do not fear being called difficult. Sometimes difficult means you cannot be manipulated easily. You have standards. You ask questions. You say no. You expect respect. You are not always available. You don't tolerate dishonesty. If being difficult means refusing to abandon yourself, become comfortable with the label. But remember, do not use this lesson as an excuse to become unreasonable. Strength requires self-awareness. Ask yourself honestly, am I protecting a boundary, or am I simply being stubborn? That question keeps strength from becoming arrogance. 48. Know the difference between disrespect and disagreement. Not everyone who disagrees with you disrespects you. Someone can challenge your opinion respectfully. Someone can tell you that you are wrong. Someone can criticize your work. Someone can have a different preference. That is not necessarily disrespect. If you interpret every disagreement as disrespect, you will become defensive and impossible to work with. Strong people can handle disagreement. They listen. They evaluate. They adjust when necessary. And they stand firm when they believe they are right. 49. Use consequences, not threats. Threats come from emotion. Consequences come from decisions. Threat: you'll regret this. Consequence: if this continues, I will leave. Threat: I'll make you pay. Consequence: I won't continue this relationship under these conditions. One is emotional. The other is controlled. Choose controlled. 50. Make your life too full for petty drama. A person with no purpose has enormous amounts of energy for nonsense. Every message becomes important. Every rumor becomes important. Every comment becomes important. Every disagreement becomes a battle. But when your life is full of meaningful work, your priorities become clearer. You have goals. You have responsibilities. You have people you love. You have projects. You have a future to build. Suddenly, some arguments look ridiculous. You ask, why am I spending 30 minutes on this? That question alone can save you years. 51. Stop checking who is watching. Do not live for spectators. Some people will notice your growth. Some won't. Some will applaud. Some will mock. Some will ignore you. It doesn't matter. The goal is not to perform strength. The goal is to become strong. Keep working when nobody is watching. That is where character is built. 52. Master the pause. Before replying to an insulting message, pause. Before accepting a request, pause. Before making a major decision, pause. Before sending an angry text, pause. The pause is where freedom lives. Reaction is automatic. Response is chosen. Even 3 seconds can change the direction of a conversation. Train that space. 53. Remember that you can survive rejection. Many people tolerate disrespect because they fear rejection more than they value dignity. But rejection is survivable. Someone can leave. Someone can dislike you. Someone can say no. Someone can misunderstand you. And you can still wake up tomorrow. You can still work. You can still grow. You can still love. You can still build. Understanding this makes you less desperate. And desperation makes people easier to manipulate. 54. Stop chasing people who make you prove your value. If someone continually makes you audition for their approval, step back. Healthy relationships do not require endless performance. You should not have to constantly prove that you deserve basic respect. A man named Henry spent months chasing someone who repeatedly ignored him. Every time the person became distant, Henry tried harder. More messages. More gifts. More explanations. Eventually he stopped. The silence was painful. But it taught him something. Attention that must be chased is not the same as connection. He began investing that energy into his own life. His confidence returned. 55. Do not use silence to manipulate. Silence is powerful. But silence can also become a weapon. Do not ignore someone for days simply to make them suffer. That is not emotional strength. Healthy silence says, I need space to think. Manipulative silence says, I want you to panic. Know the difference. The goal is not control over others. The goal is control over yourself. 56. Protect your peace without becoming cold. Peace does not require emotional isolation. You can love people. You can care. You can be generous. You can be compassionate. And still have boundaries. The strongest person is not the one who feels nothing. It is the one who can feel deeply without losing themselves. 57. Let disrespect reveal character. Sometimes you do not need to ask who someone is. Watch what they do when you say no. Watch how they behave when they do not get what they want. Watch how they treat people who cannot benefit them. Watch how they respond when you succeed. Watch how they respond when you fail. These moments reveal character. Use them as information. 58. Do not ignore patterns because of potential. People often say, "But they could change." Maybe. But you must respond to behavior, not imagine potential. If someone consistently demonstrates disrespect, believe the pattern until behavior changes. Hope is beautiful. But hope should not require blindness. 59. Become the person you would respect. Ask yourself, if I watched someone else behave exactly as I behave, would I respect them? If the answer is no, change. Would you respect someone who constantly begs for attention? Would you respect someone who breaks promises to themselves? Would you respect someone who accepts humiliation just to keep people around? Would you respect someone who explodes over every insult? Probably not. So become different. Become someone whose conduct earns your own respect. 60. Remember, the real goal is not to make them pay. The title is Make Disrespect Expensive. But understand what that really means. It does not mean revenge. It does not mean hurting people. It does not mean humiliating anyone. It means disrespect should have consequences in terms of access. If you disrespect my time, you get less of it. If you disrespect my trust, you get less information. If you disrespect my boundaries, you get more distance. If you repeatedly disrespect the relationship, you lose the relationship. If you insult me, I don't have to insult you back. I can simply stop participating. That is what makes disrespect expensive. You do not destroy the person. You remove the privilege of access. 61. The final lesson: become your own protection. At the end of all these lessons, everything returns to one principle. You must become someone you can rely on. You cannot control whether people are respectful. You cannot control whether someone lies. You cannot control whether someone leaves. You cannot control whether someone misunderstands you. You cannot control whether someone criticizes you. But you can control what happens next. You can choose your response. You can choose your boundaries. You can choose your distance. You can choose your habits. You can choose your standards. You can choose your future. Imagine waking up tomorrow with one decision. I will no longer abandon myself to keep someone else comfortable. That one decision can change everything. You stop chasing. You stop begging. You stop over-explaining. You stop reacting to every provocation. You stop tolerating repeated disrespect. You stop needing everyone to approve of you. You stop trying to prove your worth. And you start building. You build discipline. You build competence. You build confidence. You build patience. You build character. You build a life. Then something strange happens. The people who used to control your emotions lose their power. Not because they changed. Because you changed. Their insult is still an insult. Their opinion is still their opinion. Their behavior is still their behavior. But it no longer determines who you become. That is real strength. A Stoic does not expect the world to become perfectly respectful. He prepares himself to remain steady when it isn't. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember. You don't need to prove that you're powerful. You need to prove that you are disciplined. The next time someone crosses your boundary, remember. You don't need to scream. You need to enforce it. The next time someone disrespects your time, remember. You don't need revenge. You need to stop donating your life to people who don't value it. The next time someone walks away, remember. You don't need to chase. You need to keep walking toward your purpose. The next time someone insults you, remember, their words do not become your identity simply because they said them loudly. And the next time you feel the urge to react, pause. Breathe. Stand still. Think. Then choose the response that the strongest version of you would respect tomorrow. Because your greatest power is not the ability to destroy someone who disrespects you. It is the ability to remain in control of yourself. That is what inner steel means. Not becoming emotionless. Becoming unshakable. Not becoming cruel. Becoming discerning. Not becoming arrogant. Becoming confident. Not becoming someone who fears disrespect. Becoming someone who knows exactly what to do when it arrives. So make disrespect expensive. Not with anger. With standards. Not with revenge. With distance. Not with insults. With silence. Not with threats. With consequences. Not by destroying others. By building yourself. And remember this. When you stop rewarding disrespect with access, people eventually learn that access to you is a privilege, not a right. Your time is a privilege. Your trust is a privilege. Your attention is a privilege. Your presence is a privilege. Your energy is a privilege. Guard them. Use them wisely. And never forget that the most important person you must learn to respect is yourself. Because when you truly respect yourself, you stop negotiating against your own dignity. You stop accepting what destroys your peace. You stop chasing what does not value you. You stop explaining your existence. You stop shrinking so others can feel bigger. You stop allowing temporary loneliness to frighten you into permanent disrespect. You become calm. You become selective. You become disciplined. You become difficult to manipulate. And most importantly, you become free. That is the real victory. Not making someone regret disrespecting you. Making sure their disrespect cannot control your future. If this message spoke to you, remember it the next time you are tested. Pause before reacting. Choose your standards. Protect your peace. And keep building. This is Inner Steel. If you want more lessons on discipline, stoicism, emotional control, confidence, silence, and becoming mentally stronger, subscribe to Inner Steel and stay with us. Because we are not here to become louder. We are here to become stronger. We are not here to control everyone around us. We are here to control ourselves. We are not here to chase respect. We are here to live in a way that makes self-respect unavoidable. And when you become that person, disrespect does not destroy you. It simply teaches you where the door should close. Stay calm. Stay disciplined. Protect your standards. Build your inner steel.